The following video is not made for kids. Viewer discretion is advised. Hello to my subscribers, this is the TFangy coming to you with what will hopefully be a quick and successful video review. And it's Memorial Day weekend right now, and to start things off, I'm going to take a look at something that is quite memorable to people who were collecting Transformers action figures back in the years 2007 and 2008. And recently I managed to find on Amazon some Transformers action figures I missed out on getting back when they came out in those mentioned years when the first live action Transformers movie took the world by storm. Kinda, sort of. Anyways, today, as the title of the video has already revealed, today we're going to be taking a look at the first of up to, I think it's now 7 Transformers action figures from that period of the Transformers franchise that I finally was able to add to my collection after all these years, and is the Transformers 2007 first movie deluxe class Walmart exclusive Transformers 2007 first movie Allspark Power Autobot Grindcore. What a mouthful that was to say. So yeah, this guy was released as a Walmart exclusive, and back in the good old days of the 2000s, when Transformers action figures were sold exclusively at Walmart, you would see this sticker saying that it's only available at Walmart. These days, the stickers have been removed, and that's because Transformers action figures in more recent years that are released as Walmart exclusives, they're sold in completely different style boxes compared to the ones that were sold at mass retail with only a sticker separating them from the distinction of where they're sold at. And a lot of the Transformers action figures from the first live action film that were released as exclusives, they were straight up repaints of action figures from the Transformers Cybertron line that had come out the previous year in 2006. And one of the main reasons why Hasbro decided to use the Cybertron molds is because they were the most recent molds that were out that they had created in a previous Transformers line. They had arguably the best articulation out of all the Transformers action figures that were available at the time in 2007 and 2008. And also, the Cybertron cartoon had stopped airing new episodes. Cartoon Network would continue to air episodes of the second half of the Transformers Cybertron cartoon show in reruns until the summer of 2008, when Transformers Animated would start to the spring of 2008, when Transformers Animated would start to finally release its new episodes on television. The Cybertron cartoon kept airing in reruns until the spring of 2008, at least it did in my area of the United States, until Cartoon Network finally took it off the air for good and concentrated on Transformers Animated. One of the main reasons for doing that was due to the Transformers Animated line not being available until the summer between June and July of 2008. So during the spring months of the year 2008 was when the second group of Transformers action figures released in the first live action movie line, which were released under the subtitle of Allspark Power, were released at retail. When I say released at retail, not at mass retail all the time. Some were, I want to say, at least a good half to a third of the figures that were released in the Allspark Power subline of the first live action movie. They were released as exclusives, Grindcore being one of them. So, for a financial standpoint from Hasbro, it made perfect sense to reuse some of the Cybertron molds. A lot of the Transformers Cybertron action figures in the original Transformers Cybertron line, only a few of them were repainted and had a second mold use. So, had Hasbro decided not to use the molds from the Cybertron line to expand the first live-action Transformers movie line, then quite a few Transformers molds from Cybertron would have been a one-time mold use and not gotten a repaint here. Hasbro was doing the same thing, continue that trend throughout the year 2008 of taking figures from the Cybertron line and repainting them, and releasing them in the Transformers Universe Classics line, which succeeded the first Transformers 2007 movie and the Cybertron line, and being released alongside the Transformers Animated line in 2008. But that's getting into a highly different topic. But the point is, Grindcore here, he is a repaint of Transformers Cybertron Landmine. I do have that action figure in my collection, but like so many of my Transformers action figures from the Unicron trilogy, bringing my camera around so I can show you guys. Nice. My Unicron trilogy collection I keep on a shelf. Up right there. I'm not going to be able to point up at it, but Cybertron Landmine is one of the action figures that's up there. I apologize for not having something to point at, but see if I can maybe get the box up here. So right there, this figure that the corner of the box is hovering in front of right there. That up there is that mostly yellow and brown one right there next to this orange action figure, which is Universe Sunstorm. It's a repaint of Armada Thrust, but yeah, that figure right there next to my original Cybertron Override figure, which you might recognize from the Velocitron subline of Legacy. There is the original Cybertron Landmine figure I have in my Transformers collection. So, put my camera back and adjusting it again. So yeah, I do have the original Cybertron Landmine. I apologize for not bringing it down off of the shelf to do a size comparison here with Grindcore. I will do a size comparison with another Transformers action figure, but I did want to show that I have the original Cybertron Landmine figure. So with the release of Grindcore, the Cybertron Landmine mold, it's only been used twice in its existence, and the figure I'm going to do a size comparison of here with Grindcore is the one of the deluxe figures from the Legacy line, and I'll explain why in just a moment. So yeah, he's so focusing now on Grindcore himself. He's almost entirely green in a front loader construction vehicle, and the Cybertron toys back in the 2000s. This was still the glory days of when spring-loaded missile launching weapons existed. So he does have a missile launcher. The missile launcher actually forms the top back, sticks onto the top back section of the vehicle mode. It is the exact same missile that the original Cybertron Landmine figure came packaged with. Grindcore even has the same head sculpt as Cybertron Landmine. Instead of Cybertron Landmine's paint job of yellow and brown, it's now almost entirely green with gray and black highlights. So yeah, Grindcore is a straight-up repaint of Cybertron Landmine. Here on the side of the box, you just got some design box, deluxe class size. See if I can get it here at an angle. If you can see right here, the first 2007 movie action figures, the deluxe class sized action figures, were released in this almost hemispherical dome-shaped type bubble right here. This top corner was slashed off from previous lines of deluxe class Transformers figures to try and make it smaller at the time. It wasn't until Transformers Revenge of the Fallen that Deluxe class and Voyager class Transformers were packaged in robot mode due to one particular Transformers action figure, the figure in question being Revenge of the Fallen Long Haul. That figure's alt mode was so boxy shaped because it was by all accounts a boxy shaped dump truck, and it was so massive it couldn't fit in a normal sized Voyager class box. Revenge of the Fallen Long Haul was sold in his own unique style box. And realizing after Long Haul that retailers reported that they could get a lot more copies of that figure on the shelf compared to other figures that were packaged in alt mode, that's when Hasbro decided to make the switch. And it kind of sort of they continued throughout 2000. They continued. I'm sorry, I got my years mixed up. But yeah, after Revenge of the Fallen Long Haul and reports from retailers that they could get more copies of that figure on the shelf compared to other figures that were packaged in alt mode, that's when Hasbro made the switch, and starting with the Transformers Hunt for the Decepticons line in 2010, and more and more Transformers action figures that were Deluxe class and Voyager class sized action figures started to be packaged and sold in robot mode instead of alt mode. And after Dark of the Moon ended in 2011, which was one of the last retail lines of action figures where Deluxe class Transformers were still packaged in alt mode. After Dark of the Moon in 2011, starting in 2012 with the Transformers Generations Follow Cybertron line in 2012, and the trend of more and more Deluxe class and Voyager class Transformers were sold in robot mode. The last mass retail line of Transformers action figures where deluxe class was still packaged in alt mode was the mass retail Transformers Prime RID line in 2012. But starting in 2013 with the Transformers Prime Beast Hunters line, deluxe class Transformers were packaged in robot mode. Same thing with the Generations line. And I'm starting to get off topic, I apologize, but when I get to talking about Transformers, I just can't stop. So, bringing focus back here to Grindcore, flipping around. Here on the back of the box, this is why Transformers action figures, if you do find them brand new in the box from the 2000s, it's now a bygone era compared to Transformers that are now released in 2025. And actually, for an example, let's see if I can grab the correct one. I did not. But anyway, just picking a random box from behind me for a comparison. Here's an average box that a deluxe class Transformer came packaged in back in 2007 versus the current year 2025. This is the Studio Series Devastation video game Optimus Prime box. So as you can see, the packaging has shrunk down a lot, but the overall size of Transformers action figures has too. And so as you can see, back in the 2000s, to be a collector of Transformers action figures, you really felt like you were buying something special with all the intricate designs of the box. I mean, just look at how the word Transformers is written on here compared to how it is here on Devastation Prime's box. It's just the word Transformers in red letters. Here the word Transformers is cut in half like it was on the G1 boxes. You got the faction symbol printed up here on the top corner of the box. And just for a brief cameo, here's another figure I bought off of Amazon recently from the 2007 movie line. This is a Decepticon Jolt. Yeah, seriously, I'm not kidding, that's his name. But the Autobots and Decepticons, they each got their own faction symbol printed on this box, so it wasn't just recycled, where one faction was used for the entire line. But then but even though there isn't really a top of the box here, I mean, when you look at Devastation Prime's box, mine's copy is very dusty here. Here I'm planning on throwing it out eventually in my recycling can. But yeah, you do have Optimus Prime's name printed on the top of the box, and you've got the Transformers Devastation logo up there, but here along with Takara Tomi's logo. But the black backgrounds that Hasbro and Takara Tomy have been using on the boxes, it seems like there's not much there, but when you compare it here to Grindcore, where you've got just colors eye-popping everywhere, even though it's obvious from the black eyes of the Autobot logo, there's supposed to be a black background on the box. It's hardly visible. I mean, look, you can see some black there behind Grindcore's or shovel there by the Autobot logo in the background. And the reason for that is because he's floating in outer space, since that was the screenshot used on these Transformers packaging, was an image of Earth right just beyond the atmosphere. But yeah, compared to the action figures we get in 2025, it's no comparison. There's a lot more here compared to here. I mean, look at the things that are here on Grindcore's packaging that you get. You get product photos of the robot mode. You've got the alt mode, and it actually says vehicle mode and robot mode, and then you got descriptions of the gimmick with the cyber key, which was had to be continued from the Cybertron line. Well, when I say had to be, it didn't necessarily had to be, but it made sense for Hasbro to continue using the cyber key gimmick to activate those gimmicks, since these are just straight up repaints. No retooling or re-engineering went into these Cybertron line action figure repaints that were released in the first live action movie. You got the spring-loaded missile. It even says on the packaging with firing projectiles. So yeah, spring-loaded launching missile. Hasbro did away with those at the start of the 2010s due to safety issues, and I honestly can't remember the most recent Transformers action figure I bought that fired any kind of missile, whether it was spring-loaded or you manually fired it by pushing on it with your finger. I honestly can't remember the last Transformers action figure I bought that came out recently that actually had a firing missile included as an accessory piece. It might have been one of the collaborative Transformers action figures. I think it might have been Code Red, now that I'm staring at some of my Transformers action figures over there on the shelf. I could be mistaken, though. It could just be a fiction base there. But anyways, yeah, spring-fired missile. But most importantly, for the bio of the character, you've got an entire paragraph of several sentences versus on the Studio Series Transformers action figures, one sentence that's repeated in 5 different languages. I mean, one thing that the new boxes do have is the number of steps on the transformation back and forth between robot mode and alt mode, and you do have a screenshot of the character as they aired in the film. But you kind of sort of got that here on the boxes of these action figures with the screenshot of the face, which was digitized to look like how the character would appear in the live-action movie. So, for anyone out there who are fans of the Transformers Cybertron series, and you've always wondered what Landmine would look like if he was if he were to appear in a live-action Transformers movie, then the image of his face here on the front of the box gives you an idea of that. At here in Grindcore's colors. But yeah, you've got an entire paragraph-long bio, which I will read in just a moment, but also something that I do miss seeing on Transformers action figures. You've got tech specs, reading all the strengths and weaknesses that the Transformers characters possess. There were 8 categories during the first live-action movie. I will read those also in just a moment. Something that I don't care if it's gone or not, but you've got product photos of advertising other Transformers action figures that were available at the time. Going left to right, you've got some of the Walmart exclusive deluxes. You've got Autobot Big Daddy, which I got recently off of Amazon as well. You've got Jolt, which I got at the same time I got Grindcore. Dive Bomb was another Walmart exclusive action figure. I haven't been able to get a hold of him off of Amazon, unfortunately. The other 2 figures, I used to have them when they first came out. You got and these were released at mass retail. You got Overcast, and you've got Jungle Bonecra. I sold off those Transformers action figures when I had to purge my Transformers collection to make some money and make room for other action figures. So yeah, I used to have those, but not anymore. Not a real major loss for me. I'm hoping that someday I'll still might be able to get Dive Bomb, because since just like Big Daddy, Jolt, and Grindcore, or Dive Bomb was also a repaint of a figure in the Cybertron line. But yeah, for those of you who couldn't tell by how much I'm doting on the Cybertron Ares, the Cybertron line was my favorite of the Unicron trilogy line in terms of the action figures that were released, and to this day, today in the current year, as of this video's recording, it's May of 2025. In more recent years, with Hasbro downsizing and shrinking the overall size of Transformers action figures, today the action figures that were released in the Transformers Cybertron line back in 2005 and 2006, and subsequent repaints that were released in succeeding lines of Transformers action figures, such as the 2007 first movie line and the Transformers Universe Classics line in 2008. The Transformers Cybertron action figures, they remain to this day among the overall largest and bulkiest and most massive Transformers action figures that were ever released. And so, if you can find any Transformers Cybertron action figure with the Cyber Key gimmick, then I highly recommend getting one. And just because of how much larger and more massive they are compared to other Transformers action figures that have come out more recently. So I just wanted to talk about all that. Here on the bottom of the box, you got copyright from Paramount and DreamWorks Pictures, which were the 2 companies that worked with Hasbro to release the first live-action movie. Something else that's now gone is the Transformers Collectors Club. Everyone thought that was going to last forever until Fun Publications said, sorry, it's not lasting forever in 2016, so that was a real blow to the Transformers fandom when the Transformers Collectors Club ceased to exist in 2016. And so that's one thing that used to be so if you find a box from a Transformers action figure that was released from, I want to say, I don't know when the Transformers Collectors Club was started, but roughly from the years, the first 17 years of the 21st century, from the year 2000 to the year 2016, you'll see this on the boxes of Transformers action figures. figures. So yeah, the Transformers Collectors Club was the thing to sign up for, or if you were a true Transformers fan back in the back during the decade of the 2000s. So focusing here on Grindcore, his paragraph-long bio reads, "Whatever Grindcore is doing, he loves to do it loud. Cybertron was always a pretty noisy place, what with everyone revving their engines and then the war. Earth people really know how to make noise fun, though. Human heavy metal is way cooler than the pop he listened to in his home city of Voss. It's easy to find him on any construction project. Just follow the incredibly loud music." So yeah, Grindcore is a noisy his eardrums can handle any level of music or banging sounds. He has soundproof hearing, which is probably why he listens to so much noise. So yeah, that's Grindcore's personality. If you wanted to enter Grindcore in a contest where you don't make any noise and you have to be silent all the time, Grindcore is going to come in last place in that category. And so for his tech specs, the tech specs that were found on Transformers boxes for quite a long time. I can't remember what the last line where tech specs appeared. I think it might have been the Transformers. It was either the Transformers. I think it might have been the Fall of Cybertron line in 2012 when tech specs last appeared on the boxes of Transformers action figures. I think they might have done away with them with the Thrilling 30 line. I can't remember for certain. I think the Thrilling 30 line might have still had tech specs, but they definitely did away with them with the Combiner Wars line in 2015. Tech specs were gone, starting with Combiner Wars. The 8 categories on the tech specs are strength, intelligence, speed, endurance, rank, courage, fire blast, and skill. And it was on a 1 to 10 scale with all of these tech specs. So for Grindcore, his tech specs are: he has a strength of 8, an intelligence of 6, a speed of 4, an endurance of 8, a rank of 4, a courage of 6, a fire blast of 6, and a skill of 7. So with those tech specs, Grindcore here, he is very strong. He has an average amount of intelligence. He's slow, but he has lots of stamina. He's a low rank. He has a very low rank among the Autobots, but he has an average amount of courage and firepower, and he is very skillful in combat. So yeah, what Grindcore lacks in his speed and not being that much of a high-ranking Autobot, he more than makes up for with his strength, stamina, and combat skills. So yeah, even though he's not, at first glance, he doesn't look like the most powerful of the Autobots, you don't want to get into a fight with Grindcore, especially a shouting match, because he will defeat an opponent with how much noise tolerance he possesses. So yeah, pretty cool background information there on Grindcore. Or the Cybertron Landmine mold. It's one of my favorite molds from the Cybertron series. At first glance, it might look a little cartoonish, what with the way the tires are designed and the portions of the front loader that this mold holds alt mode transforms into. But overall, it's a pretty fun looking design. One thing about Grindcore, though, is that it's implied that he's also messy, because it's kind of hard to tell what's there inside the box. But if you look right there, the front of his front loading shovel bucket, it's permanently stained with dirt and rust from all the times he scooped dirt and debris from out in front of him. But one thing to note about Grindcore, and this is true for some of the Walmart exclusive 2007 movie figures that were figures, is that some of these action figures were repurposed by Fun Publications, the same comic book company that distributed the action figures in the Transformers Collectors Club. Grindcore was one of a handful of action figures that was repurposed into a Shattered Glass character. This action figure, 2007 first movie Grindcore, he doubles as the shattered glass version of the Autobot Double Target Master Scoop. So, he's doubles as a shattered glass Transformers action figure. It doesn't really help with the shattered glass aspect that his cyber key is done in clear red plastic. So, had it been a neutral color, or like if it was blue or clear, then it could easily double as a shattered glass as cyber key. But just like in the regular G1 universe, in the shattered glass universe, the color red is heroic and the color purple is evil. So for a villain to have a heroic colored cyber key, it kind of ruins the shattered glass aspect, but that's the only thing that ruins it. The only faction symbol that Grindcore has on him, which is the Autobot logo that ends up on his the front of his robot mode chest. In alt mode, it's the on the top center of the roof of the ab section for the front loader. Grindcore's Autobot logo is it's actually it doesn't look at it first, but it's a metallic silver Autobot logo on a black background. On the original Cybertron Landmine action figure, it was a standard red Autobot logo on a white background. And I don't believe it's silver chrome. It's chrome. It's just shiny metallic silver. It's a slightly shinier silver than the hubcaps used on the wheels. But yeah, since it's technically not a red-colored Autobot logo, then yeah, the action figure itself without the cyber key can technically successfully become a shattered glass Transformers action figure if you want to have a shattered glass version of the Autobot Target Master Scoop on your team of Autobots. And in the Shattered Glass comic book, instead of dirt and rust, it's actually blood from Decepticon victims that's here on the front of Grindcore's steam shovel when you decide to use this action figure as Shattered Glass as Scoop. I originally bought Grindcore with the intention of using him as the Shattered Glass version of Scoop, but with the release of Scoop's Thrilling 30 action figure back in 2014, which I did get that figure. Scoop is not, in case you were wondering, Scoop unfortunately is not the action figure I'm going to bring out for a size comparison here with Grindcore. The point I was trying to make is that I think I'm going to use the action figure as Grindcore after all, and instead of from being the first live-action movie universe, I might just display him with my Generation 1 Transformers characters and make him a Generation 1 Transformers character. But yeah, overall, a pretty fantastic-looking Transformers action figure, so without further delay, let's get this action figure. Let's get it to do what it was supposed to do when it came out back in 2008. And get it out of the box and transform it into robot mode and see what Grindcore looks like close up. One last thing I do want to say is that for some reason here on the back of the box, the image of Grindcore's cyber key, that's actually the cyber key that came packaged with the Transformers Cybertron version of Optimus Prime. It's designed to be in the shape of the Autobot Matrix of Leadership, which is why it has those two sides on it that look like handles. But the actual cyber key that Grindcore comes packaged with, I don't know how well I'm going to be able to show it off in the box. I'll show it off when we get him out of the packaging, but the cyber key he comes with is a standard shaped cyber key that looks more like a traditional shaped key. Most of the Autobots from Cybertron had a standard Autobot shaped Cybertron planet key. The fact that here on the product photo for Grindcore's alt mode shows the Optimus Prime Matrix of Leadership shaped cyber key activating the cyber key gimmick means that it tells me that originally Hasbro was going to take the Cybertron Optimus Prime Matrix of Leadership cyber key and give it to Grindcore, but then at the last minute they decided to instead just release the standard key Autobot faction symbol cyber key with Grindcore instead. So the video's already gone on much longer than I wanted it to with all the babbling and background information I went through. I apologize, but without further delay, let's finally get Grindcore out of his box, and we'll take a look at the image the mode that he comes packaged in inside the box, which is his alt mode. Alright, and so here's the moment of truth. We are finally opening up a Transformers action figure from the year 2008. Here's the background image with the Allspark cube. That is what the subline of Allspark Power was all about, was that these were Transformers action figures that were not originally from Cybertron, just like some of the Transformers characters that made a brief cameo at the end of the first live-action film. They were actually given life on Earth by the Allspark. The Transformers action figures that were released at mass retail, you can barely see it here. I apologize for my camera blurring it when I get the image closer, but on Jungle Bone Crusher and Overcast, there were parts of the action figures that were painted a very bright powder blue to show that it was they were machines given to life by the Allspark. But I believe most of the Walmart exclusive action figures that were, again, repaints of action figures from the Cybertron line. I don't believe they have the light powder blue paint jobs that were given on the figures at mass retail. So here's Grindcore inside the plastic bubble. For accessory pieces, he actually comes with 3. He comes with the missile, the cyber key, and so there, as you can see, is the difference I was talking about. He originally was going to have the Optimus Prime Matrix of Leadership cyber key, but then at the last minute, Hasbro decided to instead give him the standard Autobot logo shaped cyber key. And just like the keys from the similar to the keys that were actually sold with the original Transformers Cybertron action figures, the cyber keys that were given to the repaints in the 2007 first movie line, they're made out of clear plastic. I don't know if there are any cyber keys that have been released that were made out of solid plastic from the original Cybertron line. The gimmick was that when Transformers would summon cyber keys, they would actually be made out of energy instead of metal, and they would glow very brightly before they would finally be inserted into the slot where a cyber key would be inserted to activate additional weapons. So that's why the cyber keys were all done in clear plastic, since they were made out of energon instead of metal. And in the long run, being made out of clear plastic, that means over time they can become brittle and shatter into pieces. So be very careful when you activate the cyber key gimmick with the cyber keys. One difference is that unlike the cyber keys that were sold with the original Transformers Cybertron action figures, here on the ones that were sold with the 2007 movie repaints, the frame on the key was on the keys from the Cybertron line. They were originally painted silver. Here are the outside edge of the cyber keys. They're unpainted. So the only thing that has silver paint on it is the faction symbol. So that's something that's definitely a spot where Hasbro saved on paint. During the first live-action movie was not painting the outer frame of the cyber key, just painting the faction symbol, unlike what the ones they had with the original Cybertron line. One thing that I do wish Hasbro would consider going back to, but I know with everyone saying use more energy-reliant materials and cutting costs, honestly, I won't do this anymore, but back during the 2000s, if you bought a Transformers action figure, this is what would be used to tie them down and hold them in place inside the boxes, where these look like they're basically plastic tie-downs, but what allows them to twist and stay twisted in their shapes it's actually a metal wire that's wrapped in plastic. So yeah, metal wire tie-downs were universally used by Hasbro to keep Transformers action figures inside their boxes. So yeah, as you can see, these are metal wire tie-downs. I believe it was I think it might have started with the I think it actually started with the Transformers Hunt for the Decepticon line in 2010. Hasbro decided to do away with metal wire tie-downs, and they switched to paper tie-downs. Paper tie-downs made a brief return in 2023 and 2024 with the or during the Trent, and also in 2022. If I remember correctly, during the Legacy trilogy, paper tie-downs made a brief comeback when Hasbro announced that there was going to be a zero plastic used on the actual packaging of Transformers action figures, and so paper tie-downs, which had been introduced with the Hunt for the Decepticons line in 2010, they made a brief comeback during the Legacy trilogy when Hasbro decided to go plastic-free on Transformers packaging. So yeah, here's the metal wire tie-downs here. They were very effective in maintaining their shape and preventing Transformers from moving around a lot. Paper tie-downs, after they were introduced for the Transformers Hunt for the Decepticon line in 2010, they continued to be used for the next 5 years throughout the Generations line, Fall of Cybertron, Dark of the Moon, Age of Extinction, and Combiner Wars. Paper tie-downs were replaced with the I don't know how well you can see it flopping around there inside Optimus Prime, Devastation Prime's box, but starting in 2016 with the Titans Return line, paper tie-downs were then replaced with these plastic straps. So, yeah, not tie-downs, but straps were used on to hold Transformers action figures in their boxes, starting with Hunt for the Decepticons in Titans Return, the Titans Return line in 2016. Plastic straps were replaced paper tie-downs. Like I said, paper tie-downs made a brief return when Hasbro tried to go plastic-free on the packaging of Transformers action figures. When it was announced during Legacy United that Hasbro was going to reintroduce plastic packaging, Transformers fans and collectors were disappointed when, instead of bringing back plastic windows, Hasbro brought back the plastic straps that had been used from Titans Return until I think it was I can't remember if it was Legacy Year 1 or Legacy Evolution, when plastic straps had been discontinued, and paper tie-downs had made a brief return. If I had to choose between paper tie-downs and plastic straps to hold Transformers action figures in their boxes, I would definitely use plastic straps. They're much easier to release a Transformers action figure from their boxes than plastic straps are. But yeah, when I started collecting Transformers action figures back in the day, metal wire tie-downs, they were a common sight, and it was so much fun to just be able to just untwist these things and have the Transformers action figure out of the box in just a matter of seconds. Because plastic tie-downs are a real pain, and they take me sometimes minutes, depending on how many there are, hold in place. And I honestly don't know how they're able to use plastic straps how they're applied to the boxes of Transformers action figures when they're still at the factory. Like I said, Grindcore was released back in 2008. It's now 2025. So yeah, this Transformers action figure has been waiting 7 years to be released from its packaging. So some of the parts are a little wobbly from being in the box for so long. Some of them aren't forming into shape properly. Yeah, I don't know if that's mold degradation or if it's just this individual copy from being inside its box for 17 years, but trying to straighten things out. But yeah, anyways, here is Grindcore out of the package, and in the mode he comes packaged in, which is his alt mode of a front loader construction vehicle. And yeah, pretty neat vehicle. The wheels roll very effectively, although there is only a hairline of clearance space. That's something that is commonplace with Transformers action figures these days. And Grindcore actually sits so low to the ground, in fact, that he actually has something that you don't see on Transformers action figures these days. He actually has 2 tiny little plastic wheels here underneath him to help him roll on the ground better. So yeah, that's so he actually has 6 wheels that allow him to roll around very well. Most Transformers action figures, when they're supposed to have wheels that are that tiny, they're just sculpted in little knobs on the bottom, which act as faux wheels or fake wheels. But not on Grindcore. The tiny plastic wheels he has on here are real. They're held in place by metal pins, so they aren't just clipped in there. So yeah, Hasbro and Takara Tomy, back in the 2000s, they still had a large enough budget that Transformers action figures were much more solidly built. As you can see, looking around here on Grindcore, there aren't too many hollow gaps. There is one hollow gap here on the back, but that's due to how the back of his alt mode transform arms into his eggs. There could have been a gap filler back in the day when this happened, but during the late 2000s, third-party Transformers companies were still in their infancy. Only a few of them existed, and back in the 2000s, that was still the day before 3D printers existed, so gap filler upgrades weren't a thing just yet. There is another gap here on the front of the cab of the driver's cab, moving the picking up the front-loading shovel. As you can see, the front-loading shovel itself, it does have a fairly decent range of articulation when you can get it to stay locked in place together. So yeah, pretty good range of motion here with the front-loading shovel. But moving out of the way, there's a close-up of what the driver's cab looks like. The main reason why there's a gap in there is because when you transform Grindcore into his robot mode, when you flip out the head, when you transform Grindcore, there's a little piece here that comes down and becomes a gap filler, which becomes his abdomen for his robot mode. And so that was kind of a precursor, since this was a repaint of Cybertron Landmine, that was kind of a precursor to the Automorph gimmick that the first movie Transformers action figures utilized as their main gimmick. So yeah, there's one piece of Automorph transformation here with this mold. Also, bringing the front-loading shovel back down. There's a close-up of that dirt and rust there from Grindcore using it and not washing his front-loading shovel off. If you don't want to see that paint job there and you want him to have a clean shovel, with the right cleansing materials, you could clean that off if you want on it too. But yeah, that's also another precursor that was unusual at the time of the 2000s, was battle damage paint apps. You didn't see that too often on Transformers action figures. One last thing to note about this alt mode is that this is supposed to be a giant industrial front-loading shovel. As you can see, there's a sculpted ladder here on the both sides of the vehicle mode. So yeah, if you could imagine a human person climbing that, I believe this front-loading steam shovel is roughly the same height as a two-story house. In the Cybertron cartoon, Landmine wasn't that enormous. He was an average-sized front-loading shovel. But yeah, with those sculpted ladders there on the side, it's actually much larger than even when it was portrayed with Landmine. So, inserting the missile here on the back. Here is the missile insert onto the back of the alt mode. So with the missile properly inserted, yeah, there's no mistaking. It's just it looks like a front loader with a pile driver on the back of it. At least they sculpted the missile to look like something you'd see on a construction vehicle. So you can imagine the front loader backing up and pounding away at stuff with the missile here on the back. And it is spring loaded. These three sculpted exhaust pipes are the trigger. And I just love that Hasbro and Takara Tomy back in the day, they just didn't do a little rectangle and say, oh, here's the trigger, it's a trigger button for the missile launcher. Nope, it also doubles as a set of exhaust pipes for the vehicle mode. So robot in disguise as much as possible. And yeah, the spring is very strong. It's not hairpin trigger strong where it'll go off at a moment's notice. It will only go but it's the right amount of strength where it'll only go off if you fire it. So yeah, pretty strong missile here. And the product photos on the box, and this was true with Cybertron Landmine also. These this sculpted detailing right here is supposed to stick out sideways, so the blander part of the missile is supposed to face up and down. And so yeah, pretty impressive alt mode even with the missile attached. Like I said, I've always loved the Transformers Cybertron Landmine mold. I actually did want to get Grindcore back in the day in 2008 when he was released in the first live-action movie line. But the one time I went to a Walmart store and I saw Grindcore on the shelf, I unfortunately didn't have enough money to buy him, and by the next time I was able to get to Walmart, again, the first live-action Transformers movie was being pushed aside to make room for the Transformers animated line, and so Grindcore was gone. So it took 17 years, but the wait to finally have Grindcore was totally worth it. Now for the Cyber Key gimmick, technically you can activate it in alt mode, but what the Cyber Key gimmick here for this mold is on the two back wheels of the alt mode, when you insert the Cyber Key and then you gently twist it, these spikes come out here. And so if you want to make Grindcore be like the Wreckers, where he has spiked tires, and you want him to go off-roading, you can do that as well. In the Transformers Cybertron cartoon, Landmine's gimmick, and you can even do it here with the when it's in alt mode. And there's actually some two little spinning wheels right in here with rubber edges right here. And the reason why they're there is so you can. The reason why these two wheels are here is so that you can, when you bring the wheels up, and this you have to flip them up like this to transform this mold into robot mode. It's so you can spin the wheels at the same time. And in the Transformers Cybertron cartoon, Landmine's Cyber Key gimmick was that when the spikes would pop out of the tires after he summoned his Cyber Key, the wheels would then spin so violently fast they would generate miniature tornadoes that Landmine would use to blow away any Decepticon enemies that tried to attack him. So, unfortunately, Cybertron Landmine, he's one of the few characters where the Cyber Key gimmick, it actually looked cooler in the cartoon than the actual Transformers action figure did, because even if you were to spin these really fast, there's no way you'd be able to have any tornadoes appear. I suppose if they could invent 3D printed tornadoes that attach to the tires using the same using the rectangular Cyber Key slot. If they wanted to. But considering the fact that this is a Transformers action figure mold from the early 2000s with no prospects of being released again in modern times, I highly doubt there's anyone out there who has the time and the interest in making 3D printed plastic tornadoes for Cybertron Landmine and movie Grindcore or to use. So yeah, that's basically it for the Cyber Key gimmick. I remember on Cybertron Landmine's box it showed that you could leave the back wheels up here and you could have him generate tornadoes to make him kind of fly, but the aerodynamics of a front loader with its back wheels up in the air as engine turbines, I highly doubt this type of vehicle is going to get off the ground. So removing the laser gun on here, let's get this guy transformed. So first thing, which we already did to show off the Cyber Key gimmick, is flip up the back tires. Next thing you want to do is lift up the front loading shovel. You don't have to pry them apart just yet. This one just did it automatically due to how how it is. Next thing you want to do is you want to take the bottom of the vehicle mode, rotate this part down, and then flip this down. And as you can see, these are the legs. Next thing you want to do is take the front tires, rotate them around like so, 180 degrees. They kind of sort of lock in place, but there's no tabs to actually lock them in place. This is just how far they rotate forwards and backwards. So if you were to try to rotate it forwards like this, you will snap it off and break it. So be careful with that. And next thing you want to do is pry the legs in half. Then you want to take these parts here, and these will become the toes and the heel spurs. So, with that done, you're technically done with the lower half of the body. Oh, this is where that gap I showed off in the tractor cab is, and why I said this is a precursor to the automorph technology used in the first live-action movie. You want to take these two, I don't know if these are fuel tanks or not, but you want to take these two gray pieces. They're pieces here on the back sides of the torso. They're attached together, so it's just one sculpted piece that runs clear through the torso. You want to rotate these down, and I don't know if you saw that, but if you look right here, as you rotate these 45 degree this gray piece comes out, and that's why that gap on the is there on the front of the tractor cab. This filler piece comes down, and you've got the ab muscles for the robot mode. So yeah, that's always been a cool, fun transformation with this mold. I missed it the first couple of times I owned Cybertron Landmine. But I told myself that if I ever got Grindcore one day, I'd remember to that gimmick, and I wouldn't mistransform him in robot mode, leaving that bottom half of his torso empty. But yeah, it's a nice, it's a gap filler piece that Hasbro installed, something you don't see these days whatsoever, since there's gaps everywhere. And as I showed in my previous review of TF1 Megatron, most Transformers fans and collectors who hate gaps in their Transformers action figures buy upgrade kits to fill them. So at this point, we're halfway. I didn't actually say it, but you want to take the steam shovel, the front load, the bucket, the shovel bucket, split it in half, rotate it back like this, and these are the arms. And while we have Landmine and what I like to call his alien, bug-eyed scarecrow mode, or Revenge of the Fallen wheelie mold. And actually, on that note, I'm surprised no one's ever thought of customizing a copy of this mold into a version of Revenge of the Fallen wheelie. Maybe this is where the inspiration for wheelie came from, was someone having a half-transformed Cybertron Landmine figure, or even Grindcore. But anyways, you want to take this out, and then you want to take the bring the shovel down like this, and what you do, you want to rotate, and here's another precursor to automorph technology. You want to rotate this piece up, and it'll flip out the robot mode hands. And so you want to take the shovel, just prop it up as close as you can and as possible. In the Transformers Cybertron cartoon, the steam bucket shovel, it would rotate. I don't know how I'm going to be able to show that off. It would rotate, and then it would sit behind Landmine's arms. Unfortunately, due to the way it's sculpted right here, it isn't actually capable of doing that. So that's the closest that the shovels are actually able to sit to the arms, is at this angle. And you do have two options. You can either having the shovel in this orientation right here is slightly closer to the animation model for Cybertron Landmine, but rotating it right here where the shovel actually rests on top of the elbow, it allows the hands to flip out all the way, so this is actually the correct orientation. But like I said, the steam shovel would rotate farther back, and it would sit behind the robot mode shoulders, so you can kind of, if I give it at that angle right there, you can kind of see that either it makes tries to and fails to make an optical illusion of that. But that's just one thing to be a note of. One nice thing though on this mold, and Grindcore shows it off since they're painted black, there's actually sculpted missile pods here on the back, and that's for defense. That's additional weapons that you can get when you get this figure into attack mode, which I'll show off in just a moment. But yeah, those missile pods, they fold up into the back. And one thing I want to note before we continue the transformation of this mold, look right here, and what do you not see on Grindcore? That's right, no major gaps, no hollowed out parts, no hollowness whatsoever. there is almost everything is solidly built on here. Even on the inside of the robot mode legs, I have to bring it out like this. But yeah, and there's actual screws used to hold this action figure together, not just metal pins. There are screws used on here, and by the 2000s, a lot of Transformers fans and collectors were screwing and unscrewing parts on Transformers action figures, part swapping them and customizing their own Transformers action figures. And sometimes when people would sell their custom Transformers action figures, they either purposely or accidentally they would sell the customized Transformers action figure, not a figure that had swapped parts that weren't original. And so to prevent that from happening and giving collectors a chance to get the original action figure that was made at the factory, Hasbro and Takara Tomy decided to do away with screws on mass retail release Transformers action figures. And so screws are also a thing of the past now. Transformers action figures these days are held almost entirely by metal pins. And I apologize, I forgot to do an alt mode size comparison for Grindcore with the Transformers action figure I was going to do. But I will still do the size comparison in robot mode. But anyways, next step in the transformation, flip this down and the back wheels become the backpack. You can put the cyber key in one of the slots if you want. And again, those little plastic rubber edged wheels here on the inside of the vehicle mode, that's so you can activate the cyber key gimmick of the wheels rotating inward and outward from each other at the same time. The last step in the transformation, well, two steps actually, fold these two parts down, which are the the smokestacks for the vehicle mode, and then you take the smokestacks, flip them back up over the chest, and they'll fill out those, one of the few gaps that the mold actually has. And with the reveal of his face, here is Grindcore transformed into his robot mode. So yeah, he's a tough built robot who doesn't take anything from any Decepticons or even his fellow Autobots. In the Transformers Cybertron cartoon, Landmine was his personality-wise, it was the equivalent of Ironhide from the Generation 1 cartoon. Also Cup, where he was an old-timer Autobot. He was older than most of the other Autobots under Optimus Prime's command, and he'd been around a long time, so he'd seen a lot of warfare. I'd say personality-wise, Cybertron Landmine was closer to G1 Ironhide more so than Cup. But yeah, I don't know if Grindcore is supposed to be an old-time Autobot, or if he's supposed to be much younger. Based on the bio from the back of his box, in which he's into loud noise, I want to say he's closer to most of the other Autobots, where instead of being an old-time veteran of the Autobot ranks, he's much younger and came online more recently. So, putting his missile gun inside his hand, and there he is holding it. So yeah, Grindcore is a pretty impressive looking Transformers action figure. And like I said, he does have an attack mode, so folding up the smokestacks so they're out of the way. And Cybertron Landmine was shown doing this on more than one episode of in the Transformers Cybertron cartoon, but you're supposed to rotate it up like this, and then you can actually do the cyber key gimmick without actually inserting the cyber key into the wheels. So this is one of the few examples where the cyber key gimmick is actually kind of redundant, since you don't actually need the cyber key to do it. But like I said, in the Transformers Cybertron cartoon, the main cyber key gimmick was that the wheels would spin so fast they generate tornadoes, and so this is the angle that they would be in whenever Landmine would do it in the Cybertron cartoon. So I apologize. I've mentioned Cybertron Landmine so much, I've made the review more about him than Grindcore, but that's where the source material is, because pretty much the thing with Grindcore is that, as far as I could tell, going off of his Transformers Wikipedia page, I don't think he shares his name with any previously released Transformers characters. He was a brand new character when he was released in the 2007 first movie line back in 2008, and considering the fact that he was surrounded by so many other Transformers characters that had recycled names, that was a surprise to see that. But anyways, yeah, pretty impressive looking robot mode. And if you'll excuse me for a second, sorry about that. So, in terms of articulation, the head is on a swivel joint. It's not a ball joint, so it can rotate clockwise and counterclockwise 360 degrees. The shoulders, they're attached to the torso at a ball joint, but due to the transformation with the smokestacks becoming chest armor, the ball joint is rendered useless in robot mode. If you get the arm out of the way, you can kind of sort of rotate the shoulder in, but it's barely 45 degrees of rotation, so pretty much the only shoulder joint, if you can get the shovel bucket out of the way of the wheel. It can spin clockwise and counterclockwise 360 degrees at the top of the shoulder. Arms can go inward and outward at the shoulder. No bicep swivel. Ball jointed elbows, so you can rotate the lower arms inward and outward and up and down. And again, if you can get the shovel bucket out of the way. No wrist articulation due to how the arm transforms as part of the hydraulic of the shovel bucket. But of course, you've got the gimmick of the spring-loaded missile. It's also fires really effectively. The long shot. Okay, so yeah, pretty powerful spring in there, and it's not a hair trigger, which is nice. So it's got the right amount of friction in there, of force in there, so that it will fire if you press the launch button, but it won't fire if you don't press the launch button. So that's really nice. Due to how the legs transform, there's no waist joint, there's no thigh rotation, but you do get knee bend, so it has the potential to bend 90 degrees, but the only way you'll get the 90 degree bend is if you bend the knee at the leg like this, where you've got up the mold in like a sniper, in like a kneeling fire position. There's no rotation joint at the thighs, but there is right below the knee joint, so you can rotate the lower legs inward and outward. The toes and the heel spurs can go up and down due to transformation, but that's pretty much it. No ankle articulation. So that was pretty standard articulated joints at the time in the 2000s. No ankle rockers, no thigh swivels, no waist swivels, and the heads were only attached on swivel joints, so yeah, no ab crunches or anything like that, or sprawl-legged positions where you have the feet sitting flat on the ground. But what the action figures lacked in articulation, they more than made up for by just how solid and sturdy they were built back in the day. Because again, rotating the legs outward, as you can see, no hollow gaps right there. The only hollow spaces you have are the screw holes, and of course the pegs that the port holes that pegs would insert into. So yeah, this mold is one of the more solidly built deluxe class molds to come out. One thing that the Cybertron Landmine mold, unfortunately, it's one of the deluxe class Transformers that did not have any light piping. That's only because the way the head was designed, it had a front and back half that were held in place by a screw, and the head being two halves held by a screw was to allow the swivel jointed neck to be there, so you could have the figure look left and right if you wanted to. Now, I did say I apologize for not doing a size comparison for Grindcore in his alt mode, but I will do one in robot mode. And for a special size comparison with a more recently used Transformers action figure, here is Grindcore next to Transformers Legacy United Deluxe Class G1 Optimus Prime. So the main reason I bought this figure out, as you could obviously tell, was to show the overall size difference with Transformers action figures. I know this isn't a fair size comparison, since Legacy United Optimus Prime is one of the smallest sized deluxe class Transformers that's ever been released, but the point I'm trying to make is that this is an example of how Hasbro has been forced to reduce the overall size of Transformers action figures over the last 20 years. This was an average sized deluxe class Transformers action figure in 2005. Fast forward 19 years later to 2024. This is a small size deluxe released most recently. But yeah, I just wanted to show you guys, this is the size range of Transformers action figures throughout the years. It's amazing how much larger Grindcore is compared to Legacy Deluxe Class Optimus Prime. As you can see, there's a lot more articulated joints on Prime, such as his ankle rockers, the head being on a ball joint instead of just a swivel joint, and the waist articulation, but there's a lot more hollowed parts and gaps on him. I mean, just look at the back of the shoulders here. You're comparing these two action figures to each other, so yeah, I just wanted to show that off. So there's Grindcore next to Legacy Optimus Prime for a size comparison. So for those of you who have never had the Transformers Cybertron Landmine mold, and you've never had Grindcore, here is Legacy United Deluxe Class Optimus Prime as a size comparison to show you just how massive and bulky a deluxe class figure this is. And as I said, Cybertron Landmine was an average size deluxe figure when he was released in the Cybertron line. There are deluxe class Transformers from all three lines of the Unicron trilogy, not just Cybertron but also Armada and Energon, that are even bigger than this mold is. So yeah, the 2000s were the glory days for deluxe class size Transformers action figures, and Grindcore is no exception. Being a repaint of Cybertron Landmine, he's no exception to that. He's one of the larger and more massive Transformers action figures in deluxe that's ever been released in deluxe class size. So there he is one last time. There's his silver Autobot logo, and with the Cyber key there on the back. So for my final thoughts, do I recommend getting this action figure and adding it to your Transformers collection? I only recommend getting, if you don't have him in your collection, I only recommend getting 2007 first movie Grindcore if you're a fan of Cybertron Landmine and the gimmick from the Cybertron line with the Cyber Keys activating additional weapons and features. If you aren't a fan of the Cyber Key gimmick from the Cybertron line that existed back in 2005 and 2006, and if you aren't really a fan of the Cybertron Landmine mold, if you don't like the idea of an Autobot being a mostly green front loader, since that's basically G1 Scrapper's alt ode, and there's of course the white elephant in the room. Grindcore was released back in 2008, and as of this video's recording, it's now 2025. So this Transformers action figure has been was on the market 17 years ago as of this video's recording. So he's almost a 2-decade-old Transformers action figure. So if you aren't really a fan of collecting vintage Transformers action figures from the first live-action Transformers movie, and you feel the aftermarket price is far too high, then Grindcore can be an easy path. But for me personally, I always wanted to have Grindcore in my Transformers collection, and so yes, I did pay a scalper an aftermarket price on Amazon to add him to my Transformers collection, but it was worth it for me to finally have him after 17 years of waiting after missing out on him when he was first released. So I only recommend getting Grindcore if you're a fan, if you absolutely want to have this action figure in your Transformers collection. If not, then he is an easy pass, and I highly recommend saving your money for more important things. But thank you to all my subscribers and friends for watching this review. I apologize for making the review last as long as it did. My intention wasn't to make it last this long. But thank you guys all so much, and until next time, you guys, this has been the TFN Geek. This has been my look at the first movie 2007 Deluxe Class Grindcore figure. I promise I will do my absolute best not to make reviews of the other vintage Transformers action figures from the first live-action movie line that I've added to my collection, such as the Target exclusive Starscream figure back there, and then down here are some of the other deluxe class figures from that line I got after I found Grindcore on Amazon. I'll try to keep the reviews much shorter than this one was. But thank you guys all so much, and once again, this has been the TFangy with my review of 2007 first movie deluxe class Autobot Grindcore. If you absolutely want to have this figure in your Transformers collection, then I recommend getting it. If not, then he is an easy pass. So until next time, you guys, please remember to stay safe, stay healthy, transform and roll out. Goodbye, everyone.